worked for someone was when I was a chef. And I fought with the owners all the time.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bill David's Bogus Hangout. To have our guests introduce themselves and tell us more about working in the kitchen. Mr. T, would you like to start? Please introduce yourself. Kim?
Did you say Kim?
Or not.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, Zara. Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Zara Altair, and I write content for the web.
Doc.
And Doc Sheldon, Intrinsic Value SEO and Deep SEO Conference.
Fabulous Webmaster T.
Oh, we're not fabulous this week. We're just Webmaster T, unfortunately. I don't know. Just the usual, I guess. I will have an announcement in a few weeks, so I actually am going to do something.
Ooh.
Hey, Kim,
Yes.
you want to tell us about yourself?
Yep. Kim Krausberg, accessibility specialist and usability specialist with a SEO background.
Thomas.
Tom
Please
Zickel,
introduce yourself.
founder of Blueprint Marketing.
And I'm Bill Slofsky of SEO by the Sea, and I'm the director of SEO research for Go Fish Digital. So, Mr. T, I saw you on Twitter this morning.
Oh, yeah. Which conversation did I upset you with?
You did upset me. There was a discussion about the starting of SEO and the SEO old guard.
Oh, yeah. That probably a lot of people that think they're old guard are kind of like, well, you're mid-generation, bud. Sorry.
I remember the first SEO forum I went into, and there was a big argument over the proper percentage for keyword density for a certain industry. I don't remember what. I snuck out of there as quickly as I could. I want nothing to do with those people. They were nuts.
It's 0.15. No.
Yeah, it made no sense whatsoever back then. The search engine wasn't going to use a keyword density metric.
Back when people were trying to cloak and use clear text or white text background, add more.
That was hardly used, man. That's
I don't think it was a popular
It was
thing,
hardly used.
some people
I'm
did.
tired of the industry being painted with that frickin' brush.
Well, I'm not saying anyone with any
I'm
qualifications did
sorry.
it.
I shouldn't be but people who talk like that don't really get it. Okay? Because it wasn't like that at all. In fact, any people that I hung with, people who were doing that were ostracized. Nobody
Right,
had
people
anything
you
The
know.
the argument involved a bunch of people, and I didn't want to be involved with any of them.
Right. That's what I'm getting at. Is like people that would do that type of stuff, none of us would affiliate ourselves
But
with.
they were a very, 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 very small percentage. That's my
guess,
point.
yeah, probably.
But the whole industry is painted with this brush like we were all a bunch of fucking cowboys. And it pisses me off.
And I've been to a few forums that were run like that, where people were more interested in seeing who is the alpha male than having discussions.
Jeez.
Right.
Those weren't worth being involved with.
That's an instant leave.
Like there were all these forums, but I only went to maybe 3 or 4. Create a PC, Jim World, which got, Jim died and it pretty well died with him, unfortunately. And Jill Whalen's forum. And before that, I was a moderator on I Help You.
What was that
Which
one
not
where
too
we
many
met, Terry?
people will admit to.
Yeah.
There were some interesting people who were moderators there.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
there were some interesting discussions.
Yes. the guy who ran it, but there were some pretty good people there.
You know, he was nicer in person. I met him.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it was more the way he kind of dismissed other people. Didn't really, like when you bring someone's parents or upbringing into how they do SEO, you cross the line with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were born on this date, so I think you're not going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, each forum had its own personality, that's for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it was hard to feel. Every time I went into Webmaster World, I held my breath. Like somebody is going to know that I'm a girl.
Yeah, a girl would feel very out of place in that costume.
Yeah.
And a lot of testosterone in that forum for sure.
Yep. And then I had to be very accurate and very just kind of like everything's cool. I know what the freaking hell I'm talking about. I don't want to stir up anything. I don't know. I did okay there, but like I said, I had to hold my breath every single time.
Yeah,
they held you to
a
much different standard.
What? Because I had a program that looked for people who were cloaking, and I said basically, I'm looking for y'all.
Yeah,
You must have loved that.
yeah.
Well, that's why it wasn't very well received there. Well, that, and I said they were all drinking the purple Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid. One of the reasons I've always liked Bill and Ammon's Hangout is that it is relaxed and that people like me can ask questions and nobody puts you down for not knowing. And I have learned through the years, I've learned so much through, the original Hangout and now what we have now. And without the testosterone flying around and all that stuff, it's a wonderful place to learn.
But to a degree, they carried over from the forums because we also let people ask any questions in the forums. Sometimes the questions weren't too good.
Right.
Someone would log in, give themselves a name, SEO expert, and say, how's this page rank thing work again?
Yeah.
How do I do a 301?
Yeah.
Well, I remember when Ammon was thinking about starting it, and he said, that when you go to a conference, the place where you learn the most is hanging out at the pub or whatever, and he wanted the conversations to be like that, where it's just free flow. And I think that's what makes this such a unique gathering place to talk about SEO and its aspects, because there's I don't even go to forums, but there's just so much misinformation out there. And I find when I'm working with clients, they have the screwiest ideas about SEO, and if I didn't come here every week, I wouldn't be able to tell them, that maybe they should reconsider whatever it is that they're thinking, and why, you need to present a reason why. And so that helps me. I actually think that content, people who write for their web need to pay attention to these things, because you can help educate your clients, and you can actually help them when you're writing to present material in a way that is beneficial to them from an SEO perspective. So I'm just grateful to be here, however many years it's been.
I just checked up on an old site that was run by a client for a company I worked for 3 months. It wouldn't rank for its own name. It was being outranked by companies like eBay that were selling its products. You'd search for the name of the company and a product they would sell, and the top 2 results would be like eBay and Craigslist, and then them.
Great
Oh.
list.
They weren't ranking well for their own name. And
Was
I
their name
noticed that
very common?
their name was on TV commercials regularly.
Wow.
They were well known.
Hmm.
They,
Well known or not, if you can't rank for the name of your site, yeah, you shouldn't even have to optimize for that if you've done the job
the
right.
only place where they were mentioning the name of their site, the name of their business, was the picture of the logo for the business. And that's the only place on their
Oh, wow.
site that they mentioned their name. So they listed
nothing
on
to-
this new version of the site that they relaunched it in 2020. And they actually had the name of the site in text in multiple places.
That fix it?
I would think it did. I didn't go check those queries. That was 14, 15 years ago.
Oh, wow. That would make sense if they just had the domain name and just only in images they had their name. That would.
Well,
I can see
you know that a company isn't doing too well when they don't show up in search results at the top of the results for the company's name.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember the first time I tried to buy on insurance online, the website was just a picture of their Yellow Pages ad. That was
Oh,
that was
wow.
the website.
Wow.
Is that because
Efficient,
they
eh?
were unfamiliar with how the web should work?
Pardon me?
We
Is
figured
that because
they
they were
figured they'd pay
unfamiliar
for
with
that
how the web
ad.
should work?
I don't know. I don't know why they did it like that, Bill, to be honest. It was a small insurance company. It was probably the easiest way for them to put a website up. And all it said was call us here.
And I worked
The owner
for,
probably
I worked
said, "You know
for-
how much that ad cost me? I'm going to get my money's worth."
I'm going to get my
Right,
money's worth.
exactly.
We've got marketing. Just put it up there.
and I worked for a huge insurance company, and their SEO company had been previous to me working for them. One person from marketing and one person from IT getting together once a week to plan SEO.
That's it.
That's it. They needed work. They were ranking really well for things that they had TV commercials for.
When I first started, you could rank for anything almost on the day you submitted it. It was that easy.
That's back in the day, yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember that was
Yeah.
fun.
Google wasn't even
Good
around
old
then.
days.
InfoSeek would tell you if you were spammy or not.
Exactly. Yeah, InfoSeek was great.
Oh, yeah, that was my favorite. It told me when I was fully optimized. You are now pushing the envelope.
Mhm.
And in Alta Vista, you submitted URL by URL.
Yep.
You can submit a whole
Yeah.
site.
Man,
Yeah,
that would be a
basically
pain today
didn't
with a
crawl.
big site.
And InfoSeek, that was probably the reason that they were doing that you could submit it yourself because they didn't crawl that often.
Wonder why they failed. No.
I liked InfoSeek from a user standpoint too, because it was great for drilling down. You put in your search query and then scroll down to the bottom of the page and say search within results.
Mm-hmm.
You could modify your query and just to what they had already unearthed.
If you
That was great.
did the advanced search version of Alta Vista, it always
Yep.
turned out pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
but you had lots of things you could modify for the advanced version.
Remember when they used to have the boxes up above too, which were like a taxonomy of categories and stuff.
I remember Northern Lights doing that with categories down the side.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, I haven't heard about them in ages.
Not too many people know of them.
We're
Short
still
life.
fighting Prodigy for market share. No.
Yeah, there was a time when we did SEO where we would send ranking reports for 11 different search engines to clients.
Yeah, that's kind of how you know an old guy too. If all you've ever ranked for is Google and Yahoo or Google and Microsoft or whatever, if
Bing.
you never, if you weren't, didn't have to optimize for 10 search engines, you weren't an old guy.
Mhm.
I remember when people made a different page for every search engine.
I remember that too. Yep. I remember breaking the news to people saying, well, it's going to cost you $300 to get into Yahoo. That was hard because they didn't want to spend it. But yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
5 years later, they would have given a lot more than $300 to get into Yahoo.
Hey, Yahoo gets sold
Yahoo.
yesterday.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. I forgot who bought them though.
A company called Abbott.
Hopefully they'll do something great with them. You know, Verizon sure didn't.
No.
That's just how
look at it.
Verizon spreads the wealth by things like Yahoo.
Verizon actually bought Yahoo. My fiance worked at Verizon. She said they bought it for the free advertising. Yeah.
Advertising? Oh my gosh.
Well, they had the guy from AOL come in and take it all over. I think they thought that they could do their own advertising network and then realized that, oh, Google owns that.
Apparently, it had enough eyeballs on it that it made fiscal sense to purchase it just to put advertising for your own brand for free. But
Yahoo had some really talented search engineers working for them.
a woman from Google,
Now many of them work for Google.
the woman that invented Google Maps, I think, went to Yahoo with the original sale to Verizon. I don't know where she is now.
The woman who invented Google Maps. I don't know who that is.
I don't either. That's just what I remember.
They're the Rasmussen,
That was Marissa Mayer.
brothers. and
Marissa
they're-
Meyer went over to Yahoo.
Yeah,
to be a CEO.
Marissa
That was
Meyer
it. That
went
was
to
it, yeah.
Yahoo, but I don't
Marissa.
think she had anything
I don't
to do
think-
with Maps.
Marissa had nothing to
No.
do with Google Maps.
Sorry, I got that one wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Buzzer.
She tested universal search at Google
Yes.
in the early days.
She was accountable for quite a few breakthroughs at Google, I thought.
I was disappointed that she didn't have more good luck over Yahoo. I had really been hopeful when I heard she moved over there that she'd be able to pull them together.
No, I was really disappointed when she issued a statement saying she didn't like people working remotely and would
Yeah.
fire a lot of remote
Wow.
workers.
Yahoo is still a pretty popular site. The sports site and the financial site,
Financials.
are quite popular, actually.
Yahoo Personals and Yahoo Fantasy Sports were very popular.
Yeah, and I used to have a lot of friends who were on groups and stuff. I don't know what they used to call that, where you could join a group and
Yahoo
Gang.
kept on acquiring companies and would have their own version, which was a competitor. Like they had Yahoo Pictures and they bought Flickr.
Yeah.
They bought e-groups and they had Yahoo groups. And we had poor experience with both of those. So we started creating site forums.
I kicked Yahoo to the curb when they banned my email account for not adhering to their guidelines and refused to give me a clue. And in what way did I not I mean, I wasn't spamming. I wasn't copying 40 people. I wasn't except sending a personal email, and bam, I get a notice that my account had been discontinued. So okay, you just went to the curb along with Yandex.
A lot of hacking in Yahoo Mail. That thing got hacked constantly. It might have been somebody that just hacked into it and did something terrible.
I have no idea. I went through the back and forth of emails with somebody there a half a dozen times, and basically the best I got back was a tough shit, screw you,
Jeez. Yeah, I haven't Yahooed something in a long time. I've used Bing for a few things, but wow. Yeah, Yahoo just hasn't changed much at all in the last couple of years either. You'd think that they would have gotten their act together and kind of moved somewhat in the right direction. I haven't seen any big changes.
I would suspect an awful lot of the folks at Yahoo kind of feel and have for a decade that they're on borrowed time, that the hammer is going to fall any minute.
The Craigslist.
I know that's the way I'd be feeling.
Or what am I saying? The MySpace of search engines.
No, they did have some really smart people working there. Now they don't work there anymore. Now they work at Google.
Was it Yahoo?
Future's not too bright.
MySpace.
I don't think either of those companies bought MySpace.
Oh, I think
it was Comcast.
Oh, is it Comcast?
I think so.
Because I remember when whoever bought it, I thought, why are you buying that shithole?
It was Justin Timberlake specifically purchased the company for $35 million on February 11, 2016. So, wow, Justin Timberlake owns MySpace apparently.
Now maybe he did. I don't think.
Yeah, not the original. I just read the features. But what an acquisition!
Yeah.
Jeez.
So where do you guys think we would be 5 years from now, or 10 years from now? Do you have, like,
in terms of what?
Search.
A lot more voice, a lot more interactive. I think everything that we're.
Why do you think more voice?
Because of all the Google Homes and the Apple, all these products. I think that the iOS.
It hasn't moved much, and everybody has a phone. So
that's voice too.
I've always thought that was kind of a guessing.
One of the really fun parts about voice is when your Google TV and your Alexa start getting into arguments.
Yeah.
Each other. It's not improving search any. It's funny as hell, but it's not improving search.
But I think that there'll be more voice-activated devices that are connected to Google. And I also think cell phones, when I search on my phone, I click the little microphone button.
But that's not really search, is it?
Well, I'm searching a query, searching whatever it is I'm searching for.
I'm just saying, I think that's being overhyped.
I think also automobiles are going to go a little bit more, while you're talking, you can speak while you're driving. I think voice recognition is going to get better and better so that then they'll submit it. But you're right, semantic, structured data is also a huge, much probably bigger part of the whole equation.
Well, it turned over 50% about what, 18 months ago, that it became the main, that mobile overtook desktop search.
Yeah,
right?
A while back.
Right.
What is it now? It's maybe a few percentage more, right? So that's not exponential growth.
A telephone is still cheaper than a desktop computer.
And everyone's got one.
Yeah, but I don't think it's ever going to get that huge. Let's say I don't think it'll ever get to 70%. And probably have a hard time reaching 60.
For all,
we're going to see a lot more Internet of Things devices that are smart.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with that. I agree that, but are they going to be making Google queries, or are they going to be talking to other small devices? I think
most of those are going to have constrained screen sizes. They're going to be too small to really display things.
You read my note, didn't you?
No.
Just kidding. I had to look that one up for myself to understand what it was.
if you look at Google's new router system, that's a Nest. It talks to you and tells you you've now synchronized your mesh and all that stuff. Like that's Google, who knows?
But if Google is counting that as a query,
Well, it's not counting that as a query.
I don't want them to.
But I could also search the web on it. If I say, "Hey Google, what year was the first 9/11 made?"
That's a query.
Right.
But a lot of things that, I just don't think it's going to grow that fast. That's all. I may be wrong. It's happened.
Do you think that where we are now is the growth? I mean, that's it.
Oh, I think it'll keep growing, but not the way some people think.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
I think we'll move further away from crawlers as we know them now.
Crawlers?
They're not going to be crawling the web, finding pages, finding links, finding redirects. They're going to read content and index it.
Yeah.
So they're going to be a lot more smart. They're going to know facts. They're going to be able to answer questions based on things they find.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to give us compositional queries to answer them.
You could say since caffeine, Google hasn't actually crawled the web, it sucked it up is more like it.
And somebody on Facebook told me the other day that the Google dance was interrupting his search results. His response, somebody gave him a response, which was Google hasn't danced since the 90s.
Yeah. I remember that thread.
So, have you ever watched the sci-fi shows where they open up a computer like in thin air? Like, they move
Right. Yeah.
Roll it out.
Style. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you envision any of that in our future? Yeah. Like just
probably 10
That's
years.
already here.
It already exists.
Like Microsoft showed, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, where they had a table that you could order a menu right on the table.
Yep.
Like a fold up or you could roll up.
Oh no, it was built into the table kind of deal. Yeah.
I think
that was
pricing
more 10 years ago, though.
10 years.
That was probably 15 or better. But
okay.
that was
my memory's
that was
not
amazing.
that good, Doc. I'm getting old.
So you could literally search from anywhere. You could be like hiking out in the woods somewhere.
Yeah.
And even like if you don't have any tech on you, would you still?
Well, then there would have to be some way that you're connected to the web.
Yeah, you have to be connected.
But you could have that in a piece of clothing or,
watch.
They have something now in Asia that is consumer available that will actually put a keyboard or a projection, like a holographic projection on the back of your hand or arm, and you can actually touch screen that projection, and the sensors will detect it and respond accordingly. So you take a selection on your forearm where there's not a device, it's a projection, a holographic projection on your forearm. You put a button you like, and it goes there.
Wow.
So what's the difference between doing that and in the air? I mean, you were just steps away from it.
I don't know. I think it's so much more dramatic.
Yeah.
Remember Google Glasses? Those things.
Yeah. Google Glass. Yeah.
They might come out with a much better version of that sometime. Or I think there'll be wearable IoT stuff. I mean,
they've moved from a enterprise version to a consumer. No, from a consumer version of glasses to an enterprise.
Enterprise.
Yeah. They're using them in business.
You can use that for warehouses. That'd be pretty cool. If you could check.
They're helpful in manufacturing situations.
Yeah.
Very
Where they
interesting.
need their hands free and yeah.
Because you can
Well,
look
there
at,
was a time.
you
There
can
was
build,
a
you
time,
can
right?
build and look at blueprints at the same time.
Right. There was a time in the medical world right before Google Glass kind of retired where medical professionals were using Google Glass for the same reason they didn't have to. They could do whatever they needed to do with their hands and still make notes, as it were, on their procedure, what was going on in the office. And, you know, I was getting all ready to connect a whole bunch of people with that, and then Google Glass didn't Google Glass went away. But
Google
I
Glass
think
moved.
anytime,
Google Glass moved from consumers to enterprise. They actually sold those businesses.
right.
They're still being sold businesses. It's still being used.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
it's probably just not called Google Glass.
but I think anytime people are involved in occupations where they use their hands a lot, and so they can't be writing or typing, but they need to, you know, make notes and things. Something like that is very powerful. I know Jeff Bond used Google Glass in his home inspections for that reason.
That's what I was just thinking of. That sort of thing where having a video of what you're talking about would be perfect.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
And you have
Back in
professional
back before
organizations like the military running that type of thing.
See behind a wall or whatever.
Well, that you can get imagery from some drone. What's behind the other side of that building? You know how many folks are there.
Yeah.
I was
Right.
working on a team trying to put together an app to tie field service techs that were working on electronic equipment on a customer site with an engineer back at the plant when they needed a tech assist to figure out something. So you could be there with your meter taking particular points with your scope or your multimeter, and the engineer could direct you to the point. Scope, you know, it was a good idea. And like they typically do, Google said, "No, this is too good an idea. Let's kill it." I just decided, yeah, well, they've gone enterprise, but who knows how long that will last? So we just threw it away.
But for Google to launch a product, it's got to be in the, you know, got to generate billions for them to justify it now.
They're doing interesting things with technology, like Pokemon as a game allowed mobile phones to be used with augmented reality to show images of things over top things you're photographing. And now they're using that for furniture, to see what a piece of furniture looks like in
I
your
picked
house.
out my TV size with that. I found the exact right TV size that way. Best Buy app showed me, and I was confused. Then I was 100% certain which one I wanted.
Now they're doing that with couches and chairs. You can see what that couch looks like in your home.
That's cool.
So how long will it be before you can pick out an escort online with that?
I don't know. I'm not in that industry.
Well, no, but I mean, porn has driven so much technological improvement over the last several decades. You know it's going to happen. I'm kind of surprised it hasn't already.
It's true. I mean, the payment industry is kind of based on them.
That was my first job.
Really?
Porn?
Yeah, not performing. But yeah, my first marketing client was one of the biggest porn outfits out there. They're in Canada. 1/3 of the digital traffic in Canada was going through that one route.
Wow.
Now they had fantasy. They had a lot of stuff going on. A factory that was converted into offices was about 1/3 their operation.
Wow. But they were in the payment industry. They were the first to get PCI compliance, things like that. Kind of, I mean, from what I understand, right? They were a big driver towards PCI compliance and people being able to take payments safely over the web.
I can see that.
That's from what I understand, but I have to probably look into it a little more. But yeah, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I remember when internet, before routers and all this stuff, I shouldn't say before Wi-Fi, my roommate had a room that had cable internet, and I remember connecting to it and being like, whoa, 5 megs a second, compared to dial-up. I thought I was in warp speed.
Cutting edge, yeah.
Yeah, the whole world was very, very different. I was like, I can go from this page to, it's mind blowing, but it was set up for just one room, but you had to get a different modem for each room if you wanted that type of speed. So the internet has moved so quickly, and helped our lives immensely. And I think the negative parts of it honestly outweigh the good, or all the good outweighs the bad by a mile. It can be used for negative things, but it is really, I don't think there'll be anything bigger in our lifetime than the internet. With all the commerce that's being done, all the benefits that we...
I'm a little more cynical than you, Thomas. I'm not at all convinced that the positive that far outweighs the bad.
Really?
I hope it does. But then I think about, what happens to our society? How many people are going to die of starvation and thirst if one well-placed EMP blast knocks out all the electronics in a 1,000-mile radius?
Yeah.
People won't be able to we've already forgotten how to carry on a conversation, how to look anything up in a dictionary or encyclopedia, how to do any critical thinking, because we got Google to do this for us. I want to know the best guy to do this job. I'll just ask Google. He can tell me who's the best guy, and I can believe it 100%, right? So, what happens if all of a sudden the ability to use electronics goes away?
Well,
we think we're burying 500,000 people as a chore. Make that 50 million people and see how well the incinerators keep up,
Well, I think we had a foretaste of that kind of problem when it got cold in Texas. When people,
Yeah, but that was just a tiny...
The systems couldn't keep them warm, and it was pretty bad.
That wasn't the fault of the systems. That was the fault of the politicians who set up the systems in Texas.
Yeah.
Right.
Syria is a good example.
The grid that's not connected to any of the other states, on purpose, they can raise the prices as much as they want. And the purpose behind the grid was to be able to share.
Yeah.
Even Alaska had agreements in place with Western Canada. If they have a power emergency, they have the ability to tie into the Canadian grid, and it also can supply the Canadian grid if there's an emergency. But not Texas. No, we don't want to go there. We're independent. I need my AK-47 and my own grid,
Americans can buy power cheaper from the Quebec government than they can.
That reminds me of a small island country I can think of.
Did they have one city in Texas that was connected to the grid, and that's it? It was the only city that didn't lose that type of power?
I did hear that, yeah.
Yeah.
Small city,
you gotta
right?
look
Like
at why the
people.
failures happened. It's because they didn't weatherize the equipment because they thought it would never get that cold, even though it had happened in the past. That's just stupid.
They don't even have a lot of interconnectivity intrastate. There's an awful lot of metropolitan areas that normally would have excess generation capability, but there's no cabling to allow them to get it to adjacent counties.
It was
not
it
all
was
of them. There is some, but not
overall. Completely.
Yeah, Terrible planning.
Really poor planning.
Yeah.
It's just like, we're invulnerable. This will never happen to us.
The right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing over there.
And then what does the government do? Blamed it on somebody else.
Hmm.
Pass the buck.
We're so dependent on our
the governor of the
technology.
state of Texas is blaming the Green New Deal, which has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, which has absolutely.
Hasn't passed yet anywhere. Anyway,
But it's democratic, so you know it's gotta be bad.
Texas picked up a lot of House seats recently.
Yeah.
they picked up a lot of what?
House seats with the census.
Yeah. Two more Republican ones, I believe.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
They had the most change. They offset it themselves, but I think they had 40 seats total. Change,
So we're
but
looking at that populations flicker and change around in different places.
Right.
You had California lost one seat. So Darrell Issa is going to get kicked out.
Mhm.
Not too much of a loss.
New York, only by 87 people or votes, it lost us something like that.
That was a different state.
Oh, yeah, it was, and all the gerrymandering. It's really, it's a bad system. You'd think they'd be able to stop the gerrymandering, but
Oh, you can't change that. Can't change it.
it's built into the system, just like the little
It's in the
sticks they used to
Constitution.
vote for
You
the
can't
guy
change
next to
that.
him. You ever see when someone's away in Congress, they vote for they use the other guy's vote with a little stick? They literally do that. Yeah. My neighbor here said, vote for.
Yeah, I
But,
can't be bothered to show up. So will you vote for me?
Yeah. Politically, how do you think Google has affected our lives politically? Like, I mean, I think people are held to account a lot more.
Huh. I take the other side of that argument.
Or I was about to say, also get away with a lot of
Accountability?
stuff.
You got to be kidding, Thomas.
Well, the guy who
Social
took a picture
channels
of his
do that.
private parts and put it on Twitter, that wasn't the smartest move. But you know, if he had just done that without the internet, he would. I forgot what congressman or House Speaker that guy was, but he got in a lot of trouble for that one. Anthony Weiner is a good case of doing some bad stuff on the web. But I do agree they have a lot of.
These are people who have gotten in trouble no matter if there was a web or not.
Yeah, you're right. They'd be in
it's
hot
brought more
water either way.
visibility. There's more visibility for us at our level. But you can
Right.
bet that the folks at Capitol knew who the dirtbags were that were pulling this crap for the last 15 years. It was common water bottle gossip, you know. But you and I didn't have visibility to it. So the internet has done that. But by the same token, the internet has brought us so much visibility of shit, you know, pure, non-factual, invented, and lost the critical thinking ability to look at something and determine if it's believable or not. It just it meshes with what we'd like to believe. Therefore, we're going to retweet it. You know.
Yeah.
Lizard people are real. I mean, come on, now we know this.
Do you think QAnon can happen before the net? I don't.
No way. It'd be a bunch of guys in their basement hanging out, talking crazy.
Maybe a few hundred people.
Yeah. 10 to 15 if they could even spread it to the other basements. Yeah, maybe get the whole neighborhood.
I was in a chat the other day, and somebody facetiously they brought up the lizard people, and somebody facetiously said, "No, I can prove for a fact there's no lizard people because if there were, they'd have fallen off the edge of the world by now." If somebody else piped up and says, "Okay, if you listen carefully, you hear at least 3 people in this chat are having to mull that over to see if it makes sense."
Wow.
3?
Whoa.
I mean, lizards aren't very aware of what the Earth is flat or a sphere. Which I guess if they're half people, they probably walk right off. Yeah. No, I had a person tell me that the CIA made every crater in the moon the same depth. Like, have you ever looked at the moon? And that's how they're spying at us. And I'm like, have you ever heard of a satellite or a drone? It's way cheaper for them not to go to the moon. And then they said, we've never landed on the moon. I'm like, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So
people like
the
that, I
CIA's
just
on
walk
the moon?
away.
Like,
from.
how
No
they're like, oh,
hope.
they shoot them out of a rocket. I'm like, okay.
I actually saw
gotta-
a very detailed article, that was proposing that the moon landing was falsified in some warehouse that used to be a porn studio in San Fernando Valley, where they made it look like a moonscape, and they had actors pretending to be astronauts. And I'm thinking, my God, you've got way too much time on your hands, you know?
Yeah.
Too many recreational chemicals in your 60s life.
And why fake it? What would be the point in that?
Red Moon, you want to beat the space race.
Yeah, to scare the Russians, you know.
Yeah, it worked. I mean, they would have not fallen for it at all. I think this is the most insane conversation, but I think it's a miracle that we got there. I think it's an amazing achievement. And the fact that the people doubt it, I think it's just so impressive that's why, and people are so dumb on top of it. They have to figure out alternate lizard people going on the moon or something, or who knows what the hell they're thinking. But some of these conspiracy theories are downright crazy.
As a species, we're devolving.
Yeah, I just got out of the hospital and I was acting crazy, and like I feel like I wouldn't have fallen for the lizard people thing when I was didn't know my name. So like, I don't know how people grab onto this stuff and actually really believe it enough to do Pizzagate or that type of stuff. You know, that's just wow.
It's scary.
To your
really
point,
is.
Doc, about devolving, I think it's the media that has a lot to do with it. And it starts with the reporters who no longer investigate everything. They get people and expect them to answer their asinine questions. Like it's so unbelievable. Half the time, the questions about that they're asking in Canada, the press, about COVID-19 vaccines, all that stuff, you can go to a freaking website and get all the government statistics right there. Like, why, if you're going to write about it, get the statistics and don't try and finger some parliament, some guy in parliament who's there trying to do the best job he can, and you're judging what they're doing without even actually doing any real investigation.
Well, there's no doubt at all that the media really contributes heavily to the crap that's going on societally. But you've said many times when we were talking about SEO, you've said many times that your buyer beware is a very wise approach. If you're gonna let somebody sell you bullshit, you got to accept some of the blame. And I think that's on us too, as consumers of media.
I sit here watching the news.
We have some
sit here watching the news, yelling at the TV. Do your fucking job. Do some investigation. Don't just put a guy on the spot with allegations that they're not doing their job right. Like, hey, if the vaccines, if the companies making them won't honor their contract with the government, how can you hold the government responsible for that and not the manufacturer? It blows my mind. But they can make themselves sell more papers by blaming the government and saying they're incompetent than to say, hey, the manufacturer screwed us. Sorry, that's just my opinion.
There's a comment from GTTK Gaming, quite a few actually, asking if he thinks Google is responsible for the influx of non-factual information, or their algorithms the one that pushed the narrative.
I would think not, no.
I think their algorithms, are not going to go towards conspiracy theories. I think if it's news and it's something everyone's talking about, they're going to cover it.
Most places that cover algorithms are showing us how a company has come up with ways to solve problems. algorithms aren't intended to pull the wool over people's eyes. They're intended to
They have no motive.
make technology work better.
I agree. As it says, people are inundated with these fringe beliefs that in personal bubble online. I agree with that. I think there's a right and a left side of Twitter, and they don't talk to each other most of the time.
I think
Well,
a lot of
someone
people,
in my,
a lot of people on Twitter
some
should
people
never
I
talk to
follow
each
are,
other.
because I see the bullshit there every day. Can't unfollow them fast enough.
That can be made more accurate, Thomas, by instead of saying they don't talk to each other, they talk to each other a lot. They don't listen to each other.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true.
Oh, good, Doug.
Talking is not their fault. They're failing.
You can find a lot of stupidity on Twitter.
Yeah.
And one of the points he makes there about the how Google is kind of responsible for the influx of non-factual information. Since personalization, right, we no longer see both sides of a story. We only see the side of the story that we personally believe in.
Right.
That's-
I told you once I got a phone call from a potential client, and he asked me about his competitor. He said, "This guy keeps on ranking above me." This was back in the days when you can turn personalization off on Twitter. And I directed him on how to turn personalization off. He turned it off and did the query where he was concerned about his competitor ranking above him. And he turned it off, ran the query, and the guy was no longer ranking above him.
Right.
He
That's
had
how
been-
much personalization can skew the results.
If you go to your
He-
competitor's site all day, yeah, it's gonna.
He had been so concerned with his competitor outranking him that he kept on going to his competitor's site, and his competitor was showing up in his personalized results as
Which
outranking him.
Makes
You don't
sense. from
have to
people's
go
side.
there every day, Thomas. Here's an example. I went to a site 8 months ago, and Google told me that I went to that site 8 months ago.
Yeah.
Right. They have search annotations that tell you that stuff.
Yep.
Oh, I go on certain brand sites and I see advertisements. I mean, retargeting is amazing. And I'm sure Google's sharing all that information with the search engine as well. Personalization part is a big, big part of why we're so partisan. I think that, if you're getting right wing or left wing only news, and there's no
A lack of actual critical thought is a real problem.
It is.
Right.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
going to say that. You're correct. They're not
Yes.
even taught that.
If you're blaming the search engine because you can't think well, that's
I'm not blaming the search engine at all. I'm just saying that people.
You're not the only one here. We've got an audience of people saying that Google's messing with people's minds. Google's showing people
no.
stuff, and they get personalization turned on, but Q doesn't work here. Q doesn't work at Google.
Yep.
But there are a lot of people who have conspiracies who aren't necessarily even Q.
My brother wanted to see what he could do to create a conspiracy theory on 4chan and started a potato god, and he got 7,500 people.
Wow.
Not just.
Wasn't there a Pastafarian deity? The flying spaghetti monster?
Still is.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they got hundreds of thousands of members of that church.
Yeah.
One would hope
I
that
don't-
most of them are joining it as tongue in cheek, but I'm sure that there's a few real hardcore followers in that crowd.
Right.
Yeah. Like we saw at the
wouldn't-
Capitol.
I wouldn't be surprised if Marjorie Taylor Greene was a Pastafarian believer.
I thought her middle name was Traitor.
I'm all for free speech, but it gets wacky out there.
Mhm.
Hey, let me
I-
interject something here in support of women and truth in broadcasting. Dick Cheney's wife coming
yeah.
out publicly saying that lying politicians is not a good thing. Salute, Miss Cheney. Hats off to you.
And they
Yeah.
want to vote her out.
I still wouldn't go hunting with her ex-husband.
No, no.
You know, that guy
Number
actually
one.
apologized to Cheney for getting shot in the face.
Yeah, I shouldn't.
Yeah, Liz is going to have a hard time staying. They want her out, and that really bothers me.
Yeah, but it's the reason they want her out.
Well, she's not
Yeah,
gone yet.
because I would listen to Matt Getz.
She's a critical thinker.
Mhm.
She cares about the country, not Trump.
Right.
But that's going to cost them. Anybody who thinks they can win an election with that guy running the show, not going to happen.
The GOP needs to separate itself from Trump badly. It just needs to happen.
They probably won't,
Being a
though.
producer for Celebrity Apprentice is not the same thing as running the country.
It never was, but people wanted him anyway. I never
And
understood.
by all reports, he didn't do that great a job at either.
Lowest approval ratings of any president in the last 20 years.
Mhm.
Well, name another president who managed to get himself, impeached twice. I mean, that takes some doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to work at that. Yeah. Or has his son threaten Congress people that are not going to vote to keep him.
Yeah, but that's the way that family has worked from day one.
Yeah.
Like, look into the history of that family. Oh boy.
Yeah, no, it's not surprising from them, but it's surprising from someone we elected as president to act so unpresidential, I guess. I can't imagine what teachers are saying when they're going,
Doesn't fall
I want
far
to be
from the
president.
tree.
Yeah. But you imagine when you're a little kid, teachers saying, you could be president one day, and you have Trump as president. It's like sleeping with porn stars. And all this. It doesn't, maybe.
It's a low bar, son. Anybody can,
It's a low bar.
can be president.
Obviously.
I was telling somebody that when I was growing up, and even into my older years, I always believed that you elected smart people to office, that it was only smart people who got the job. I no longer believe that. And I think that dumbing down the nation, we're electing dumb people. And that is a big problem to me. And I've suddenly become an advocate for education because
And
we're stupid.
Dumb people are voting for dumb people.
Right. Exactly. We've got to get education back front and center. We have to.
There should
And
be educational minimums for
there are
the jobs
people
of Senate.
who don't
Senator
even
and House.
see a name; they see a party
Yeah.
and vote
They're-
for the
Vote
party
straight ticket.
without.
Yeah, they vote
There's
their
a lot of
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
And Kim,
I
can tell you
realized
that-
that in Canada, a prime minister actually got elected after he was proven to be stealing from the government.
That's true.
Figure that one out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Kim-
we have Richard
Kim, I can tell you
Nixon.
that a high percentage of teachers out there would agree with you, but their hands have been tied
Mhm.
by state requirements and exam standards and the school board. And most of the teachers and I've known quite a few and got quite a few in the family, they're frustrated as hell because they know damn well that the direction we're going is counterproductive, and there's nothing they can do about it. Even their unions can't change most of it, and that's a shame.
I
So what do
have
you
hope.
get? Now you have the dedicated individuals who are willing to take shit pay for a job to work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week for pennies
Mhm.
that are now not going to be quite as motivated to do it because it's even shittier than they thought. So the kids pay for it, and the society will in the long run.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first lady is an educator.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping,
She still has her job, right? She's still actively teaching,
right?
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm
That's
really,
great.
and she's not going to sit around and rip flowers out of the garden and plant bull crap. So she's gonna. I think we will get some help from her. I'm hoping.
I hope you're right. I'm hopeful.
If I have to start a school for my future grandkids, I will, because I can't take it anymore. Grandma's going to teach you.
That's better. I know I had that when my kids were little. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to start a school, and they won't go to public school, etc. And then I realized that if I got too obstreperous, I would go to jail, and then they would have neither school nor a parent, and that didn't work very well. So I had to rethink that one. But yeah.
I think honestly, to get elected to Senate, you should have an educational requirement. I imagine most of them do have a decent education, but I think that they should be held to a very high
There's at
standard.
least one.
Abraham Lincoln had no
There is one?
formal education.
But that was back in the day of
Doesn't
most
matter.
people didn't.
It only proves that education does not make the man.
Oh, I'm not saying that at all.
Well,
Well, formal education, but
without
obviously
education.
he had a lot of education in his childhood to give him values and courage and all that. So
Right.
There's education and there's education. It's the formal education, but I think that kids these days, their formal education is suffering.
Right.
And one of the things that Biden has done, one of the things he's proposed, I think, is very valid, because he's proposing 2 more years of public education. We've added so many things to the curriculum at the expense of others.
I mean,
And I
you go
think
to
I went
14th
off on-
grade before you.
I think I went off on it once before in here some months ago. When I was, when my little girl was a young, like preschool or elementary school, they wanted to start teaching calculators. Okay, their way to make time in the curriculum to teach a kid how to use a calculator was to take time. Stop teaching them long division. You can divide 87 by 3, but you cannot teach them how to divide 27 by 4.
Oh, wow.
Now there's
wow.
a gap, and we raised holy hell about it in the district, and we got them in our district to not do it. But a lot of districts in Texas did do it. Okay, so
Wow.
we're teaching them how to use computers. We're teaching them how to use telephones. We're teaching them how to use calculators. What did we give up teaching them to find the time to do that? So adding more time into their education
They
can make
don't.
sense.
They don't let kids fail anymore, too.
Well, no,
Like in school
Participation
here
trophy.
in this province, no kid can fail. They keep passing them, whether they passed or not.
it's just another
Jeez.
participation trophy, Terry. You showed up.
Yeah,
therefore
well,
you passed.
everything. I just freak out. How can you play a game and not keep score? What are you teaching the kid? Nothing. You're not really teaching them good life skills. You're teaching them that you can get by like that.
Oh,
Yeah, the
you
real
want
world
to
doesn't work
teach
that way.
life skills. Terry,
Yeah.
that's good approaching being.
They just don't do it anymore. They think kids are, so frail. We can't have them thinking that they lost. Well, hey, maybe they try harder to improve if everyone wasn't a winner.
I played Little League and I sucked. I was on
You're
the
just
best
a radical,
team.
Terry.
Pardon me?
You're just a radical.
Oh, yeah.
I got the trophy during every single time. We never lost, but I was the worst player on the team. And I felt terrible getting that trophy. It was like getting kicked in the nuts. Like I knew I added no value to the team. So I was like, oh God.
Yeah,
And-
but every player adds some value to the team.
I get up there and bunt. I missed a lot. I got a lot of strikeouts. Let's just say you didn't want me on that team.
Yeah, but they need 9 players to play.
Yeah, so I guess I made them
So
regulation.
you held a seat on the bench.
Of the team.
You know, unfortunately, they made me play sometimes, and it just wasn't
Well,
pretty.
that's good for you too.
Yeah, no, it taught me that I'm terrible at that baseball, and you know that I don't deserve this trophy. Like I didn't put the trophies up as like, look at me, I should admire this. I hid them, threw them in the back of my closet because I didn't want anyone associating me with them. So I knew how terrible they were, like a sign of. But I think that's a good thing. I think that kids should not be rewarded for, some people are blessed with athletic skill that great at baseball just out of the box. That's great, cool, that's awesome. But don't give it to everyone.
Failure
Don't-
drives
don't
people to
reward
succeed.
kids for being the worst player on the team either.
Right, exactly. Like I should have gotten like a handshake instead of a trophy. Like,
Well, you were on the
you were
team.
there.
It's a
Yeah, I was
team
on the team,
sport.
that's why.
You should get a trophy like everyone.
Right,
Right.
that's the only reason.
Same fit game.
Right.
Somebody should have spent time coaching you.
I think they tried.
Player.
I'm good at tennis and skiing and stuff. I'm terrible at baseball. I'm just awful.
I was terrible at it, but I love playing.
I got one bunt. That was my claim to fame. But I think that like if we had lost the game and we got trophies, that would have sent the wrong message, I think, at the time.
But that's what happens now. Everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody passes. Like
How's that going to work when it comes to actual
Right.
work?
It doesn't
Doesn't-
work.
it
doesn't
tells
work.
people you can do nothing and get by. That's what it teaches.
Which doesn't work in the real world.
Oh,
Unless
lots
they-
more comments now.
Yeah. Hello.
It's a top of the hour though. It's time to close it for the day. Hope you
Didn't
all
do
come
much
back and-
news today.
Hope you all come back and enjoy this. It was interesting news. Thank you for sharing this. Take care, everybody.
This is a great hangout. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Well,
Thank you.
Bye bye.